Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you all so much for the love that I received. It was overwhelming. Thank you for liking, for subscribing, for commenting, and big shout out to those who actually reached out to me to give me comments and feedback. I really did appreciate those, and please keep them coming. I'm trying to learn and I want to be better. So guys, because of some of the feedback that I received, I'm going to put timestamps in the description box below. Just so that you know what point of the video, what ends, the story, where the story ends and where the tips begin. If you want to jump right to it, it's more important to me that you gain something important and something of value than to actually watch the whole thing. So if you want to watch my labor story, which is juicy, watch through with me. Otherwise, just jump right to the tips. So my pregnancy, it was pretty smooth and easy, to be honest, and that was a revelation that my mom had received about my pregnancy, and it really came to pass. My first trimester, I had a bit of nausea and migraines. So I typically have migraines, but they were just a bit more intense during my first trimester, and I sort of felt sick a bit, but nothing out of this world. Trying to think about anything else. Loss of appetite here and there. I had a bit of nausea actually, but it wasn't anything ridiculous. My second trimester, my biggest problem in my second trimester was that my bump wasn't showing. See problem now. I just kept checking online, how my bump should look at this point, and my bump was looking so shy. My mother-in-law used to say, "Oh, you like you ate and you're not like belly full," that sort of thing. My third trimester it was just tiredness and discomfort. I've heard people say that they were so tired and they wanted to get the baby out, like they couldn't wait to get the baby out. I honestly never had that feeling of, oh my god, I'm so tired of this pregnancy, let this baby just be coming. But everything else was a bit difficult, getting out of bed, bending down to do anything, you had to do the squat. I could be walking and then I just had to stop because of the really intense tightening and stuff like that. But girl, I was still a fire dancer, because a lot of times during the end of my pregnancy, especially when I wasn't home, I went for a lot of like parties and stuff, and I was dancing like nothing could stop me. And the baby turned out to be a dancer. That girl can dance to clapping, she can dance to you closing, any sound is music. But that's not the point. So that was really my pregnancy. There was nothing, okay, yeah, I forgot to mention, in my first trimester I had a leakage scare. I had a bit of discharge and I was worried I was like amniotic fluid leaking. Things go. But it wasn't, so everything was fine and the baby was doing really good. So my delivery, so everything started at about 11 p.m. on Monday. So I had my baby on Wednesday. So at 11 p.m. on Monday, I had my first, something jolted me up from sleep, some sort of pain, discomfort. I had a bit of cheesecake that day. Not a bit, I had quite a bit of cheesecake that day. And it was a bit of a stressful day. I did a lot of walking, shopping, returning and exchanging. So I was on my feet a lot. In fact, my Apple Watch was on fire that day. And I had to stand in a bit of queue, quite a bit of queues and stuff. So it was a bit of a stressful day. So when I first had the pain, I thought it was just like the cheesecake acting up. So I went to the bathroom, but I didn't get any relief. So I started to feel like menstrual cramps, and I remembered my sister saying to me, labor felt like menstrual cramps, and I was like, I think this is it. And then I didn't have any Braxton Hicks during my pregnancy. That's like false labor, false contractions. So I didn't have any idea what contractions felt like. So that happened. I called my husband, then he called my sister-in-law. She called me and she's like, okay, you need to inform everybody around you that this is what's happening. So I went to wake up my mother-in-law, because she was the one with me when I had the baby, and then she woke up the rest of the house. So we watched the contractions for a bit. but it started to, decrease. The frequency started to decrease, as well as the intensity. And luckily for me, I already had an appointment, prenatal appointment on that Tuesday, so I just waited. Once it reduced, I was like, okay, it's fine, I'll just wait and go for my actual appointment. So I get into the hospital and checked. This is about maybe 11 a.m. Tuesday. 0 centimeters dilated, the baby's not even fully phased, and doctor was like, you can't have the baby today, don't even worry, you're not going to have to come back here today, you might not even have the baby tomorrow, I don't even think you'll have the baby tomorrow, maybe Thursday at the best. But she said, okay, but I can do a membrane sweep to get things moving along. I was like, okay, that's fine, whatever. So for anyone that doesn't know, membrane sweep is they put their fingers in your vagina, do sort of like a sweep, like a circular motion, and it's to sort of waking up your, it just sort of kickstarts the labor process. Maybe loosening, I don't know what it does. So they did that. I was so good at that point that I even, when I was asked if I needed pain medication, I was like, I was fine, and that was that. So ended my appointment, went back home, and the drive home was about an hour. So I got back home. On my way home, I started to get, the contractions started to come back a little bit, but it was still pretty fine. By the time I got home, it was about sometime around 1, between 1 and 2, then the contractions returned with a bang. Ladies and gentlemen, yeah, this was the actual coming of the something. Anyway, so that happened, and it was quite a bit of discomfort, because the side of the bed I felt comfortable wasn't the side where I could power my phone. I was counting my contractions with my phone. It was me tossing back and forth on the bed. It was just drama then with the contractions, but honestly it wasn't as painful as I thought it would be, as I imagined based on what I'd heard from people. I never screamed, I never all this kind of like dramatic things, and maybe my pain threshold is high, but I don't know, but it wasn't as crazy as I expected or I thought it would be. Anyway, I endured, but at a point I realized that this pain was too much for me. I couldn't deal with it, and I needed some sort of pain relief, and obviously I couldn't self-medicate. So I was like, I think I need to go back to the hospital. It's no longer really bearable. So about 6, we get in the car back to the hospital. We get to the hospital sometime before 7:30, and then I walked into the hospital. Honestly, that took me to the hospital, know this, but I was actually fine by the time we got to the hospital. But because we had driven all the way, and I had a false one in the morning, I just like held my waist like I'm labor. It was good. So I walked in, they checked me, I went to triage and checked, and they're like, you're 2 centimeters dilated, so typically we would ask you to go back up, but let's check the baby. So they monitor the baby for a bit. Heartbeat is fine, contractions are going on, good. So you're like, okay, you might need to go back home, and we're like, no, we can't, because we live far away. It's like an hour. We don't live in the city. So we needed to, it was a bit of a risk, because the risk of having to come back, rush down in the middle of the night was not something we wanted to expose ourselves to. So the hospital said they would have to check, the nurse said she has to check, because to be fair, the hospital was quite busy that day. We were sharing doctors. I had a labor nurse to myself, but we're sharing doctors. It was really busy. Anyway, so they came back around 8:30, I think, and told me, okay, I could stay and just see what happens. And I think at this time they checked me, and I was about 4 or 5 centimeters dilated. So obviously I was going to be admitted anyway at that point. I don't remember if it was before or after this, my actual admission, that I had apple juice and threw the whole thing up, and it was like somebody who was like, yes, now you're getting started. And then I was given morphine. I didn't take epidural at any point during my labor for personal reasons. Anyway, so I was given morphine to try and get some sleep, but I don't think I really got any sleep because the contractions. Then that went on. Then I think about 2 a.m. I was given antibiotics because that was recommended at the hospital. Then it was just contractions here. I wouldn't say I practiced the breathing techniques, but I sort of got a hang of it, and I wasn't, I was in bed throughout my labor. That's one thing I think I would definitely do differently, in another situation. But I was in bed all through. The pain wasn't, like I said, I never screamed. Maybe just clench my fist and stuff like that. But that was about it. So after the antibiotics, I think they checked and I was about, I think 7 or 8 centimeters dilated. At this point, my water still hadn't broken, so it was just a waiting game. By the time they checked again, I was about 9 centimeters dilated, and then they broke my water, just to get things moving. So after they broke my water, that was for me the hardest part, because I had gotten a hang of like dealing with the pain of labor, with the whole breathing thing. Okay, yes, and I forgot, they gave me the gas, because they couldn't give me any more morphine at that point. So they gave me gas, and that didn't really help with the pain, but it definitely helped with me managing my breathing. So I was, what was I saying? I was given the gas, and that helped. So at that point, after they broke my water, I was struggling to, yes, I wasn't ready to push, but my body was, the urge to push was really strong. So that was really hard, because managing the pain, breathing through the pain was something I thought I pretty much mastered. But then breathing through the pain, managing the pain, and then managing the urge, it was two things that I couldn't really handle well together. So I think I pushed twice when I wasn't supposed to push yet. Yeah, then at the point I just couldn't, like, can I push now? And they're like, yeah, sure, you can push. And I was so annoyed, because why didn't you tell me I could push? Like, I was busy fighting the urge not to push, and then I'm telling me, oh yeah, like casually. Anyways, it was time to push. I had the baby after 5 pushes. I was really exhausted, and I can tell you for a fact that when it was time to push, I was ready for them to just, the baby's head had come out. I think after the first or second push, the baby's head was out. And I was so tired. When I said the word of prayer, I was so tired, and I was just like, use a vacuum, use a for vacuum forceps. I think that's what they can also use. Just bring the baby out, but and I just prayed. My mother-in-law started praying, and honestly, the strength that I pushed the baby with wasn't my strength. This was God absolutely, pushing. I don't know whether He pushed the baby for me or helped me, with the strength to push the baby. But the baby came out, and she was fine, healthy. Skin to skin. I always thought that I would never carry my baby with that, white coating that they come out with. But it didn't even matter. Like, they wiped her off, obviously, and they gave her to me skin to skin. I was so happy. I was filled with so much joy. But something happened at this point that I'm going to talk about in another video. And the pressure of expectations and how they can weigh you down. But anyway, my baby came. I was excited. My mother-in-law, while she was still on me, my mother-in-law cut the umbilical cord. Then we took her away to clean her and check her. And then I delivered the sac, and then I was anesthetized for stitching, because I had a bit of a tear when I pushed and I wasn't supposed to push. But it wasn't anything too bad. Otherwise, baby was healthy. Her APGAR was 9/9. She really had a bit of hypothermia, and they took her under the light for a bit to warm her up, check her oxygen levels, which was gone for maybe about 2 hours or so, and I was resting at that point. So I had her pretty much with me the whole time. And that's really my pregnancy and labor story. It wasn't anything out of this world. It was my unique experience. It was an answer to my prayers. And it was just God's way of reminding me how much He loves me. So guys, the juicy bit, the tips and the lessons from my experience. The first thing is that God is so mindful of us, of you watching me. God is so mindful of you. And this was the Bible passage in Ephesians 3 verse 20, where the Bible says, He will do exceedingly abundantly far above what we can ask, think, or imagine. He's able to do. It really became a reality in my life during my pregnancy experience, because God did things for me that I didn't ask. I didn't, speak about, pray and ask about. But if there are things that I had thought of, imagined, I didn't want to, you know, I have that ugly face pregnancy, swollen nose, swollen mouth, swollen leg. You know, I didn't want to look, you know, so obviously pregnant. You know, I didn't want the ridiculous cravings. You know, I didn't want the spitting. You know, I didn't ask for those things. I didn't actually go down on my knees and pray about them. But God obviously saw the things, the desires of my heart, and He did every single thing to the letter. And that's something, you know, you need to know that, you know, God is, He's so mindful of you that even the things that you don't ask Him for, but that you desire, He will do for you. Another thing is that God is listening. I know, right? I said He can do what you don't ask, but He's also listening to hear what you ask of Him. And this is where I want to tell you to pray about everything. You know, I said it in my previous video about praying about your baby and over your baby, but now pray for your pregnancy, pray for each trimester, pray for your delivery, pray for the hospital, for the doctors. Very important, guys. Pray about your medical team. In many cases, you don't have any say over the guys that would actually be with you when you deliver your baby. That's why you need to pray, you know, apart from wisdom and expertise that you know desire that they have, but you also need to pray that they are, you know, selected for you, you know, by God for you, because the people that, you know, they wouldn't minister to you, they wouldn't, you know, you wouldn't feel connected to them. It's important to pray about that. Another thing is, and something else that happened with, you know, God listening, is I asked God to feel His tangible, the Holy Spirit to feel the tangible presence, His tangible presence, you know, because my husband wasn't able to be with me, and I wanted the Holy Spirit to hold me like my husband will, and He did. And that's what happened when I couldn't push, and I prayed, and I felt the Holy Spirit, you know, hold me and give me strength, you know, literally breathe life into me. So I felt His tangible presence. The internet is your best friend and your worst enemy. Guys, shine your eyes, like, be informed. You know, it's good to know what you should be expecting at each stage in your pregnancy, just because, you know, sometimes if the baby should be, you know, kicking, you know, and it's not kicking, you know, if you should be aware of when to be worried and when to go in, you know, just be aware of what's happening so that nobody is, you know, just doing you yam pepper scatter. But be also, you know, guard your heart as well. Be very careful what you let in, information you receive. You know, if you find out you're asking one or two people about their pregnancy experience scared you, leave it alone. Your experience will not be their experience, so just leave it alone. You know, guard your heart is very, very important. Even if it's your mother telling you how she delivered you, if you don't want to hear, don't ask. At the point, I actually didn't ask people. I didn't want to hear stories. I watched YouTube for you know, stories about people that had easy and, you know, supernatural births, and that was what I needed, because that was what my faith needed, and not, you know, the scary stories. With choosing your hospital, guys, please be very, very, very careful. Do your research, ask for referrals, and focus more on the actual doctors than the hospital brand. There's some hospitals that are just medical hotel. Let's be honest, they don't have ski. So you know, ask about good doctors from people who have had babies in whatever country or wherever you want to have your baby. Go ahead, check, you know, before your delivery. I did a tour of the hospital. I don't know if this is something I'm going to share. I don't know, but I did a tour of the hospital. I saw, you know, the delivery room and everything, and I was familiar, so nothing was strange to me. I wasn't lost. I knew where I was going to, you know, when I was in labor. So be very, very critical about your choice of hospitals, because also something to, you know, you may not actually be in contact with your labor and delivery team before that day. Do you understand? So if you cannot, you know, if you're not confident about at least the minimum skill level in that hospital, you know, you might be in trouble. Guys, bump on a bump, big bump, small bump, long bump, fat bump, short bump. Your bump is your bump. It is beautiful. It is for you. You have your bump for a reason. No matter what it is, no matter how it looks, love it, appreciate it. You are growing a baby, you are growing a human being, and it's the most amazing experience. So don't be clouded by, you know, these things. You know, as cute as my bump was, I had worries, you know, and I was pregnant with my sister-in-law at the same time, and she had a very different bump from me, and I was like, what's happening? Secret, guys. Why my maternity shoot, I pushed my bump out to show. You know, so I'm not telling you something that I can't relate with, but I had to get to a place where I fell in love with my bump as it was, you know, small as it was. And so bump na bump, guys. Then your hospital bag, you know, get the list or the information from the hospital of what needs to be in your hospital bag and pack it ahead of time, guys. Whether it's like mentally, you know, taking notes of what needs to go in the bag or actually packing it, just do it ahead so that, you know, it's not at the nick of time that you're rushing to get that done. Shopping, guys, start shopping early. Second trimester is like the best time because you're in like your best, you know, strength state, your best, you know, health state. Most people have a very pretty smooth second trimester, so that's a very good time, and it gives you time to also, you know, make arrangements, set up and all that early. It's good to start early so that you don't put so much pressure on yourself when you're tired and you know in the later stages of the pregnancy. You know, epidural or pain relief doesn't make you weak, it doesn't, you know, make you anything, but the most important thing is to be aware of the options and make a decision on what is good for you and what works, you know, for you, and not really about what, you know, is the best. Epidural or pain relief, you know, taking any pain relief or epidural doesn't make you weak. It's still a miracle birthing a child, and it still takes strength from anyone, but the best thing for you to do is to be aware of all the options and, you know the pros and the cons, and decide on what you want and what works for you based on, you know, the experience that you want to have. I would talk a bit more about why I chose not to take the epidural in a separate video, but it was a decision I had made before going into the labor room. It wasn't like I can't take epidural. It wasn't really a spiritual thing per se. There was a spiritual element to it, but it was a bit more. There was a bit more to that. Birth plan, guys. Create a birth plan, but be ready to trash it as the labor starts, because, you know, it's good to have an idea of what you want and how you want things to progress, and have that conversation with your medical practitioner. But you also need to not be rigid about it, that no matter how things are going, you know, you want to stick to your birth plan, you know, for whatever reason you have to do an emergency C-section, and like, no, I want to deliver the vagina, you know, naturally and all that. You know, be flexible about your birth plan. So good to have it, but also good to, you know, be ready to trash it. Also guys, labor room crew, key, very key, very key. The people that you have with you in the labor room are going to play a big role on the aura and the atmosphere and the vibe, the energy in that room. So you want people that will supply the kind of energy and the aura that you need and you desire for your birth. You know, your mom might not be the best person to be in the labor room with you, like it or not, because if she's very apprehensive and everything is, you know, dramatic and blown out of proportion, you're that kind of person, and that's not what you want. You want a calm, you know, vibe. Then, you know, please, mommy, don't be there. And if you know she's your karma, you know, that sort of thing. If your partner, you know, you need to be intentional and deliberate about the people that you have in the room with you, because their presence, like I said, determines and affects the aura and the energy within the room, and that ultimately has a big role to play on your birthing experience. So be like when I said about the birthing plan, you know, that also your labor room crew should form part of the birthing plan, and be, you know, if you want to have worship music playing in the room, which I had a playlist but it never came to life, but, you know, have that and be very deliberate. I think I'm gonna go do another video as well on, you know, the things to, you know, look out for in choosing your labor room crew. But guys, these are the things that I thought to share from this experience, you know, and I hope someone found at least one thing helpful, and you'll be back again to my next video. I hope I haven't lost you guys. I'm, you know, really grateful for everyone that's clicking on this video to watch this again, and, you know, please like, you know, subscribe, share, very important, comment, and please please, 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 I really want feedback. I really want feedback. I want to grow. So once again, thank you guys so much for joining me today, and I'll see you in my very next video. All of my love. Bye.